Hello everyone, welcome to Happy Learning of QMS Day 7. Previously, we talked about the purposes, benefits of auditing. Now, coming to the next section, which is the audit participants. So, when we talk of audit participants, there are three main participants in an audit, and they are as follow: client, the auditor, the auditee. Client is the organization or the purpose who is requesting an audit. Auditor is a person who conducts the audit. Auditee is the one which is being audited. So, will the organization or the individual being audited is known as the auditee. So, there are three main parties in an audit. Let's talk about the client first. So, once again, the client is the one who initiates the audit, and client will determine the scope and the purpose, that what will be the scope and the purpose of an audit. So what is the purpose, why this audit is being done, and what is the scope of this audit? Whether this audit is a product audit or the process audit or the system audit, what we have learned in our previous slides, whether this audit covers the one plan, whether this audit covers the one processes, and so on. So the scope and the purpose is being determined by the clients. Since client is the one asking for the audit, so the client should be the one who should be providing resources for this audit as well. So that is another responsibility of the client to provide resources, and once the audit is done, client will receive the audit report, and client will also determine that who all are the other parties should get their audit reports, because client is the one who actually owns his audit report. So now when we are talking about a third party audit or a third party audit is very clear. Let's say Bureau Vistas, the certification body, when what we have learned in our previous slides, or the BSI, they are doing audit of company XYZ. So now the president or the person who has asked for this third party to do the audit, that person is the client. So the company XYZ, the quality manager who has hired this third party, that quality manager is the client. That is very clear in the case of third party audit. What about the first party and the second party audit? Now the question is, who is the client in that scenario? Let's talk about the second party audit. So, let's say you have been asked to do an audit of a supplier. Now, this is a second party audit. As an auditor, you will be thinking that who is the client here? So, the client here in this case would be your material manager who has asked you to do this audit, that is the second party audit. Let's say first party audit, where you are doing an internal audit of internal department of an organization. Then who is the client in that scenario? In that case, the client might be the management or the general manager or the person who is heading that organization. That person might be a client because that audit is done on his or her behalf. So this is one party in the audit, that is the client. So now coming to the second entity in the audit, that is the auditor. Let's say you are doing an audit, that you are the auditor. So what will be your roles and responsibility? The first one will be to understand the purpose, scope, and the audit criteria. Why you are doing this audit, what is the scope of this audit, what is the audit criteria. You need to understand all that, but then who will be providing this will be providing by your clients, the clients who has requested for the audit. As an auditor, you as a person, as an auditor, your next responsibility is to plan the audit, that how you will plan and keep the things in a place. So you need to do all the planning, you need to perform the audit, and during that performance, you will collect some objective evidences and you will analyze those evidences and will present as a report. And you will finally make a report of the audit, and then you will roll. Your role does not even stops over here. It is very important to note that the role of the auditor does not end at publishing the report only. The role of the auditor also includes to take the follow up of the actions on the audit findings which you have provided during the audit. So, if as a part of audit, you have identified some actions that you need to follow up with this, the auditee has to make sure that these actions are being taken or not. Once all the identified actions have been taken, closed, then only the roles of auditor will be end. So now when you are doing audit, audit could be done as a single person. So let's say I am doing an audit. So I am the single person doing the audit. I go to the supplier, do the audit, publish the report, taking the follow up, and so on. And here, why I'm doing this is I am doing this audit as a because I'm a sole auditor, as a single auditor. But sometimes when you have to do a complex audit, and audit is of much bigger plan, then audit covering a lot of scope, there have you have to have a multiple auditors. Maybe let's say two auditors, three auditors. Generally, this happens a lot in the case of third party audit. So let's say when my company gets audited for ISO 9001 certification, I get two auditors or three auditors for the third party. So they come and they do the audit. When you have more than one auditor, then one of the person has the role of lead auditor. So in addition to that responsibility relating to the auditor, the lead auditor will have some additional responsibilities as well. So let's look at those in the slides. The first one is balancing the strength and weaknesses of the team members. So let's say as a lead auditor or LA, I need to have two more auditors who will help me to do this and an audit. So in that case, I will need to select these two auditors based on their strength and the weaknesses and based on the objective scope what I have in my audit. I might take one auditor which has some technical expertise in the area which we are doing. I might have the second auditor which have a good understanding of quality management system. So that is the role of a lead auditor to balance the team. Sometimes you get a chance to select the auditors as well. Sometimes you do not have that option. But if you have that option, you will be like to balance the team. Then you manage the audit process as the role of lead auditor because you are the one who is finally responsible for the success of the audit. Then you represent the audit team as a lead auditor and lead the audit team. The role of the lead auditor also includes to prepare and complete the audit report end to end. So the final report is prepared and is published by the LA, that is a lead auditor. So these are some extra roles as compared to other auditors. Now coming to the third party entity in an audit process which is being audited. So the auditee, as we talked earlier, is a person or the organization who is being audited. So, what is their roles and responsibility? The first role is to inform the staff to tell other person in an organization that this audit is being done and what will be their scope. Let's understand it in this way. So, let's say if I am the quality manager of the supplier and I am being audited, so I get a notification that audit will be conducted. So my first role will be to inform other people in an organization that on this particular day and this particular time, the particular company is going for an audit. The next one is to provide the resources. So as an auditee, my role will be to provide the interview room, let's say a conference room, the communication, and any other related support which the audit team needs. The need to be provided will by me as an audit. Sometime you have a big plan. This big plan is so big that there are number of departments and so on. So what you might want to do in that particular case is you might want to assign a guide to the audit team which can help them to move from one place to another. This might happen or this might not happen. It depends, and many a times the quality manager of the auditing organization itself might act as a guide. But if this is a big plan, then in that case, the auditee might assign someone as a guide who can help the audit team to move from one place to another. It depends on the situation. Another important role of the auditee is to support the audit process that they can do by providing objective evidences. So, when you are asked to present a document, you need to present that document to the auditor, cooperate with the audit team, and then at the end, when the audit is being done, and as the part of audit, some non-conformities have been identified. Let's say one of the non-conformity was that the gauge of the company is using to measure the pressure but not the calibration. Just for an example, or this could be another non-conformity. So if the non-conformity is identified, then it is the role of the auditee to determine the corrective action as well and take these corrective actions. So auditee, we need to define that what all they will be doing to resolve those problems and also to eliminate this problem from happening again. This is the responsibility of the auditee. One important thing that you need to understand here is that in most of the cases, it is not the auditor who tells what to do, or the editor or the auditor just tells that this is not as per the procedure. That is, it is not the responsibility of the auditor to tell what actions the auditor need to take. It is left to the auditee to find out what appropriate actions they need to take to resolve these problems or to eliminate the problem. So, if you are doing an audit as an auditor, I'll suggest that you refrain yourself from suggestions that what all the auditee need to do at a particular time. Let's auditee decide what they are in such a better position. They know their responsibilities in a better way in the, as an organization. So let's them decide what actions they need to take to resolve that non-conformity. So these are the three important parties in an audit process: client, auditor, and the auditee. So here, in addition to those three main participants, we have three other participants who are optional, which might be there in some audits, might not be there in some audits. The first one is the technical expert. Technical expert is the person who has a special knowledge on a particular process which is being audited. So if you are really auditing a very complex process which you don't have a in-depth understanding of that, then you might want to have a technical expert as a part of your team. This is an optional participant. Other one is the observer. Observer you must have heard about. In so many times you have observer. This observer could be from the auditor team only, from the auditee team, or could be the person who has been assigned by the client observe the audit. But this person who is observer accompanies the audit team but does not participate in the audit. So he or she is the silent observer of the audit processes. So the next one is the what we have talked about is guide. We have talked about this earlier as well, that when you are dealing with an organization which is a very big organization, in that particular case, you might want to have a guide who can help the audit team to move from one place to another place and provide the necessary resources to conduct a efficient audit. These three audit participants, the technical expert, observer, the guides, they are the optional persons. They are there in some audit, but in many of the audits, they might not be there. Here we concluded. So this is the completion of our understanding and discussion on the audit participants. Let's let's move ahead with the upcoming slides. Thank you. Happy learning.